Hi guys, welcome back to Tiffany Gilbaugh, Realtor, Facebook Live. I don't have my Keeping It Real shirt. I have a Realtor Keeping It Real shirt. It's really cute. Anyway, I would love to introduce you to my friend Miss Melissa Randle.
Hello.
She is with American Financial. What's the whole title though?
American Financial Network.
Okay, there we go. And she was amazing and stepped in for me. I was planning on having you anyway in a couple of weeks. We just kind of swapped places with
Not a problem
our
at all.
insurance.
My
I love
pleasure.
it. So we are going to just answer some very common questions that we hear from a lot of our friends about what's going on in the market as far as the rates and that sort of thing. So right now everybody's talking about seeing these super low, crazy low interest rates. Talk about that a little bit. Tell me what that means.
So they are good. However, it's hard to say what they are currently at when that completely depends on where you are at. There's lots of different factors that go into a interest rate and what you qualify for. So it could depend on the credit score. It can depend on your loan to value. It can depend on your debt to income ratio. So there's lots of variables. But yes, rates are definitely low. I've got lots of people refinancing even when they bought last year. So it makes a big difference to actually see what you can qualify for and what things, what scenarios apply to you and what interest rate you can get.
So it doesn't hurt for somebody to say, "Hey, could we run
I
it
do
and
it
see?"
every day.
She does it every day.
Every
so
day.
There you go. You have your home. You want to refinance, put that pool in, which nobody's doing right now.
Or even see if it's worth it.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
I've had lots of friends go, okay, well, can you just run the scenario of how long would it take for me to recoup the cost of a refinance? And depending on how long they plan on staying there or what their goals are long term, it can completely either say, no way, this is not worth it for you, or yes, absolutely, we can save you hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, so it's definitely worth something to be looking into. So the numbers that we keep hearing for us, I just learned about all this during my real estate course because I had no idea. You hear the Fed rate, like right now the Fed rate is at 0. So that means we're all going to get a 0% interest rate, right?
No.
So tell us the difference
although that would
between
be
Fed rate.
fabulous.
Wouldn't that be great? I know. Sign me
The
up for
interest
that.
rate, the federal interest rate is basically what banks can borrow their money for through the federal government. Mortgage rates don't follow the federal tax rate, interest rate, excuse me. But they do kind of coincide, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So because banks are being able to borrow money for zero money from the government, they're willing to pass on a little bit of those savings to the consumer. So when you're purchasing a mortgage, you are going to have a lower percentage rate than you would have. That's why rates are lower than they have been in years, probably 30 plus years. But there is a correlation, but there is not. No, we do not have a federal interest rate of 0, so mortgages are 0. Sorry.
We tried. Okay. Okay, so you are thinking about buying, you've been renting for a while, you're thinking about buying a house. You're maybe, say, 6 months out, year out, whatever. What do we need to be working on? What should somebody who's thinking about buying down the road, what should they start working on? What should they be thinking about? What should they do?
They need to call me or another loan officer and find out what, thank you. They need to call and find out what they need to do because everybody's going to be different. It's going to be based on your scenario, your long-term goals, short-term goals, and what you're wanting out of purchasing a home for. So once you are able to do an application, I'm able to tell you based on, and we kind of went over this a little bit ago.
This is great.
There's pre-qualification and pre-approvals. So pre-qualification, you basically give me the information that you're giving me, and I basically approve you based on that information.
Just by taking their word for it.
Correct.
That can be scary.
Which can change a lot of variables. So I typically do an application. I actually have somebody do the full application, and then I get all of their documents to back up that application. When you get the verified documents, you can go through and figure out what the real income is.
Right.
A lot of people, I've had this as well with an application, we go off of gross monthly income. Well, a lot of people don't really even, to be honest, don't know what they make.
We don't.
It can vary what they make, so we're averaging it. Or they will go off what they actually bring home. Well, we actually go off of gross before taxes. So it can make a huge difference.
That's a big number difference for some
huge
people.
difference of what you can and cannot
We make
qualify
what?
for.
I had no idea.
So when you're doing an application and giving me the documents needed to back that up, I can go through and look and see what your real picture looks like. And based on that real picture, structure the loan to whatever best suited for you personally. It may be an FHA loan, which is a government loan. It may be a VA loan. It may be a conventional loan. It may be a completely non-QM loan, which is out of the box type loans.
Yeah.
Well,
but American Financial can do that. That's
absolutely.
the beauty of working with someone like you, is that you have access
Lots
to
of options.
all of that, and not just what a bank can do.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So I interrupted you. You were finishing.
No, not at all.
I have a habit of that.
it just makes a difference of knowing what the real full story is. So you can get a pre-qualification from somebody and not really know if they're really approved.
Right.
Which makes a big difference if you've got a customer that's trying to put in an offer and there's multiple offers. You want a pre-approval, not a pre-qualification.
Right.
You want to know that somebody has looked at their information and knows what they can truly qualify for. And it may end up being more, it's not always less, but it may end up being more of what they can qualify for home-wise than what they even thought they could.
Right.
So it definitely makes a big difference.
That's happened to us a couple times. So that leads me into the, well, let me tie that last part up, because I do have several of you who are wanting to purchase in the next 6 months to a year, but you've got a few things you need to work on. Some savings, you want to work on your credit history. Melissa's awesome at being able to start you now and look at that with you and walk you through, okay, this is what you need to do.
It makes a big difference, yes.
Because your credit rating is huge, and that's especially right now with COVID. That we just talked about that too. So tell me a little bit about that change.
Credit, I used to be able to get loans done at a 580 credit score. Since COVID happened and guidelines have dramatically changed because they've gotten more stringent on what they can and cannot do, I can't do any loan right now below a 620. And some banks are even 640 and 680. It's kind of getting crazy out there. But we were at a 620. But what can happen is if you have a 6 months period of time, or even a year, even better, if you get an idea of what you can qualify for going forward as the months go on, your income, your credit history, your credit score, that can all change, make a huge difference in what you're able to qualify for. If we can get your credit score up by doing a few little things, paying something off to a certain amount, adding or deleting a specific account, paying off, even a collection that you may have, or maybe not even paying off that collection, but talking to someone.
You need to pay off that JCPenney's card, because I heard they're going bankrupt.
Ooh, that might be a good thing.
Or maybe not, I don't know.
But credit agency or credit bureaus that report your credit scores, there's 3. There's Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And they each kind of weigh credit similarly, but they do put more emphasis on certain things than others. So if it's a specific, we pull all 3 credit bureaus, and if we can look at something, we can kind of get an idea of what you need to do to make it better in the long run.
Well, and kind of gets your biggest bang for your buck, too.
And you can sometimes even do that in short term, but it's always better if you know you're going to be having a lease or your apartment's up for renewal in 4 months, 3 months, 2 months. It doesn't matter. As long as you can get it done as soon as you know, so you know what you have to do. So when you are ready to move, you've got everything in order and you've kind of got your ducks in a row.
I can help you find the next place.
She can help you find
Ta-da!
your house.
Ta-da! Okay. So we kind of touched on this a little bit, but working with you with American Financial versus, say, working with the Chase Bank or working with a specific institution, why is that
The difference?
beneficial? And tell me a little bit about that.
One thing that I love about American Financial is that we have our processors in-house. I can pick up the phone and call our underwriters. We have a loan officer assistant in our office as well that can help with different things. But it makes a huge difference being able to control the process. I have, and I'm not going to name any banks, however, I have had customers tell me that so-and-so bank said that they can't do this for 90 days. I'm like, I can do it in, before COVID, 8 days.
Wow.
Now, 2 weeks. I
Wow.
can get a start to finish 2 weeks. And most of that is because of appraisals and things
Sure,
like
that
that
are out of your
nature
control.
that I don't have any control over.
Sure.
They have a certain period of time once you order it. But, I mean, it's very doable. There's a lot of companies, banks, you're just a number.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You're going to pick up the phone and you're actually going to speak to me. You're going to speak to our processor if they need to speak to you. But specifically, you have a contact that you can call and say, okay, what do I do? Not, can you transfer me to 6 different people so I can
Right.
get the right person?
Right.
Well, that's not what this last person told me. And
Yeah.
you're able to get something
Too many
done.
hands in it, yeah.
Absolutely. And
Right.
so again, they can get it done, and sometimes they can even get you honestly a better rate. But you're going to get the runaround from start to finish trying to get the deal done and to the table to
And
close.
mortgage is such a massive amount of brain cells, like all the paperwork that goes into this. And unless you're in the industry, and
As
I'm
long
not,
as you don't, I'm not asking for your firstborn child, but I may ask for blood.
you can have the firstborn sometimes too.
I would probably give
She's
my away
amazing.
sometimes. I would.
She's amazing. So I say that because I can't imagine working with someone I was just a number, or you call and you get whoever answers the phone that day, and they've got to look at your
File again,
file
all
and
over.
reread
Yeah.
everything, and oh well, I need this. I already sent that. Well, I don't have it. Well, all of that. We've
It
been
can be
through that.
very frustrating.
It is. It's exasperating.
Honestly, I have when I first purchased my first home, I worked at a mortgage company at the time, and I would hear horror stories of the scenarios that you just described. And I never wanted to have that for my customers. So I've been recruited at numerous different places that are bigger like that, and that's just not what I want. I want that customer service. I want them to know my name, and I want to know their name. I want to know why they're wanting this house. I want to know that they have kids or they don't have kids, or they have a
You want
mother
their
or
story.
mother-in-law. Yeah, absolutely. There's a relationship there.
Absolutely.
And it can make a difference of knowing what that person, again, short-term and long-term, because this is one of the biggest purchases you'll ever make in your lifetime, and you don't want to be just a number where they just put you in that box because that's kind of where they thought you fit. I like to know the story behind it, so I can structure the loan best suited for them.
Right.
Again, long term.
Yeah. I love
Makes
that.
it makes a difference.
It's huge. And you never know all that jargon that you're getting every day, and you're like, I don't understand. Well, or you go back and question something later. Well, you signed it. Well, you could always go back. Melissa, I don't understand what this means.
Let me explain it to you.
And be super
Absolutely.
easy. So that's incredible. That's huge. Because a lot of builders also have their own lenders, which it can be good and can be bad, obviously. And we went with our builder's lender, and they did pretty good. I was impressed, but they do have a lot of turnover. And so we were moved from one person to another, and I don't have this document. I sent it to him like 3-4 months ago. Oh, well, I need it
happens.
again. It's just over and over and over again. So,
And a lot of
I can
times
see-
builders can have great deals and great incentives for you to go with their mortgage company and even sometimes a title company. And I honestly don't discourage it. I would just encourage you to also speak to another loan officer
Yes.
that's private out of
Fair.
that
Yes.
realm, so you know you're getting a good deal.
Right.
You know you're getting a fair deal.
Right.
And that there's not any fine print
Yes,
that you
yes.
don't see or understand.
Because they're not necessarily going to be looking to make sure you see that. It's just like having an agent with a new build.
Absolutely.
It's equally as important because there's somebody looking out for you who's not necessarily
They're
working with that
representing
company.
you.
Exactly. So that
and
would
for
be-
your best interest,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Okay, so I know when we bought our houses, there is so much paperwork that we have to send in. And
There is.
Yeah. And I remember getting very upset with one gal that we had. This was back in Washington. And just like, oh my
How
gosh.
much more?
Are you kidding me? Like, what else do you need? So what are just the typical things? If we're back in that, we're thinking about buying a house, we're kind of like, what are some things you should start thinking, okay, I need to put that in a folder somewhere. I need to
So the
hang on to
basics
that.
of basics are driver's license and social security number. Social security
That's
card,
easy.
excuse me. So typically when I have an application done, I say, do the application. These are the things I'm requesting.
Okay.
Driver's license, social security card, last 30 days pay stubs, last 2 months bank statements, last statement that you received, typically retirement funds are quarterly
Okay.
statements. It depends. Investments sometimes are monthly, sometimes they're quarterly. But anything that you want like that that's used for qualification,
Okay.
to give me that last statement. Again, most of the time they're quarterly. Those are the basics. If for some reason you're self-employed, you're going to need tax returns.
Sure.
Otherwise, then it's pay stubs, W-2s, bank statements, any other kind of qualifying retirement investments, and driver's license and social. That's the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're going to get into, like with refinances right now, I'm
Mhm.
doing a lot of those. I also ask you for your current survey, so you don't have to pay for another one. If you can find your current survey in your paperwork from the last time that you closed, it saves you some money. So I ask for that. I'll ask you who you want to use for your insurance company, for your homeowner's insurance, if you don't already have that. And then I'll give you some suggestions if you need them. I always, especially this is such, again, a big transaction.
It is.
I like to take that time for somebody to go in and, again, see if they're getting the best deal all the way around. I usually give at least 2 or 3 insurance companies so you can compare apples to apples based on the same information.
Right.
And then if you bundle your cars in that, sometimes you'll get a discount for that.
We're going to talk about that in a few weeks with our insurance guy.
So it can make a difference.
Sure.
So when you shop around a little bit, that's again another thing that I may ask, but that kind of go within along the process. It doesn't have to be done by the very beginning. But that's
Okay.
basics.
Well, and as it goes through,
Underwriter might ask
are
for
gonna come back
something,
and go,
I want to
what
see
does this mean?"
this,
Sure,
or what was
sure.
that deposit from? I had a customer right now that sold his car, and he had 2 vehicles, sold one of them, and had like an $18,000 deposit on his bank statement, and I had already looked at his previous bank statements, and we had just gotten an updated one. Well, I had not done the run through of every one of those, and I sent it to the processor, and the processor looked at it, and she goes, "What's this $18,000?" I'm like,
He's been working really hard mowing lawns.
he sold this car. And so I knew what it was. I just hadn't seen it
Got
on
it,
the bank
yeah.
statement. Well, the underwriter is going to look at that and go, I need to know what that is ahead of time. So it kind of saved us a step from her asking, because the processor caught it. And all I did was write a letter of explanation for him to sign saying, I
You
sold
did
the
that
car.
for him.
I did that for him.
Oh
So-
my gosh, we had to do all of that ourselves. Every time there was some
No,
weird
I
thing.
tried to make it
write
easy,
that up.
easy
Okay.
on you. But I wrote up the letter. It just basically said I sold the car. Here's the bill of sale, and I attached that to it, and was able to put that in the file. So when the underwriter looked at it, it wasn't even a question she had to ask.
That's awesome. So
Makes
you're
sense.
looking for all that stuff. Okay. Any words of wisdom for anybody? I know you said, we were talking earlier too, just real quick about, people are always saying, well, can't you just kind of give me an idea of what kind of rate I could get?
That's my number one asked question. Well, where are rates? Well, that really all depends. There are so many variables that
Yeah.
go into that. I really can't. I will be honest with you. I have seen as low as 2.5. That was not very many times. Most of them are.
Because we're talking about
There's
credit score and how
debt
much you're
to
putting
income
down
ratio,
and how much,
absolutely,
all that. Yeah. So
loan to
there's
value,
a lot of variables there.
a lot of variables, and
But why would
honest-
you not quote somebody? Why would you say please don't? Yeah, that's what
So
we're talking about.
yeah, that's what we're talking about. I don't like the bait and switch. I've had customers ask me, "Well, what are your rates at today?" Well, I can tell you what the best rate is out there, but you may never qualify for it. So I don't like the hypotheticals. I like real facts. I don't want to tell you something that is out there, but you have no way of achieving that.
Yeah.
A lot of people will say, well, can't you just give me a flyer for my open house, like other realtors?
Yeah.
Can
Yeah,
you give me
we
a flyer
talked
for
about
an
that.
open house? I don't want to do that, because you may only have 1 out of 100 people that could qualify for that particular rate based on the scenarios of what goes into that. I don't like the bait and switch.
Yeah.
So I'd rather get your real facts, structure the loan the way that it needs to be structured, and be able to give you the best rate for you, or what you need to do to improve your situation to get a better rate down
Right.
the road.
So we're all about under promise.
Over deliver, for sure, for
That's
sure.
right. Well, I really appreciate you jumping in today.
Absolutely.
And coming and hanging
It's my
out
pleasure.
with us. And you guys should see the studio in here. She's
This
like
is
blown
nuts,
away.
y'all. I walked in and went, I feel like I'm in a news studio.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's very
So
cool.
we'll post a picture later, but If you guys have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments. Miss Melissa I will make sure she gets those. And she
Happy
can
to
help
help.
you out.
And
'cause
if you
she's
just want to see
amazing.
where you stand, if it's a refinance or if it's a purchase, it's just better to find out ahead of time than get to the time where you're ready to purchase and then find out that you have to get things done in order to actually go forward.
That happened to us
The
last
worst thing is finding the house that you want and then knowing you can't get the house because you've got to fix something.
Right.
I hate having that happen to people. So we always try to be
Get it off early. So let's
fix it first.
send people to you as quickly as possible. All
Sounds
right.
good.
Okay, well, you guys have an amazing evening. Thanks for joining us. And as always, if you know anybody who wants to buy, sell, rent, or needs a mortgage, be sure and send them our way. You guys have a great night. And this is Tiffany signing off.
Thank you,
Real
Tiffany.
estate, keeping it real.
Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.